Hello everyone, this is Angie here at Beads and Plenty More, and today I thought I'd show you how to do these Bolo bracelets with a little brick stitch insert in them. And I've got a couple different designs here, and we're going to do both. I'm going to start off with the round one. Bolo bracelets are really nice because if you have a different size wrist or you don't know the wrist size of the person that you're going to give the bracelet to, you can actually just slide it to take it on and off. And that way it will fit any wrist. So this one happens to have a pre-made little dragonfly on it. I slipped it on just to show you how the bracelet fit on a person. Anyways, so I'm going to start off with this little brick stitch circle here. So I've got, this is a 6mm soldered jump ring, and I'm just going to take my fire line. I've threaded about 1 meter of fire line, and I'm just going to tie it onto there. Now I want to put a bead in the center of this after, so I'm actually leaving my tail fairly long because I want to put the bead on the tail. But you don't need to leave the tail quite this long if you're not putting a bead in the center. So I'll just tie a couple knots here. And then we're ready to get started doing the circle outside. So what I've got here is I've got Chinese crystal here. So this is a 2mm crystal, or it can be a small 3mm crystal as well. I think a size 8 bead would also work there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the first row up and the second row down on this first stitch. So then I'm coming through the center of my ring, and I want to come back through the last bead I put on. So I'm going back towards the seed bead that I put in the middle. So that is your first one, and your second one also put on. So then from this point forward, I'm going to put a seed bead. So these are size 10 seed beads. I think a size 11 would also work. And I'm going to come through the center. So I've got one seed bead, one crystal on there, and then back through just the crystal. So I'm going to work that all the way around my ring. So here I am back at the beginning, and as you can see, I'm missing a seed bead right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the seed bead. I'm going to come down that first crystal, and I need to make sure that I go around the ring. So I came from the back side of the ring, and then I'm going to come back up that crystal to finish my stitch up. So my thread is going around the ring itself, and that's my circle done. So now I am ready to put the outside ring on and also to attach my bolo piece. So this is actually an odd number of seed beads around, and what I found is that if I attached the bolo ends so that I had 5 of the seed beads on the one side and only 4 on the other side, but I snugged them up right against the seed beads, it worked out right. Like it looked like it was centered, even though it's technically not, because there's 9 beads, an odd number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 3 seed beads on, 3 of my size 15 seed beads, sorry. I'm going to come through the one end, and then I'm just going to continue on with 3 size 15 seed beads. For another, I guess it's 4, or another 3, and then you're ready to put your other side on. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I am going to put my 3 seed beads on, stitch through the other end here. Oh, this one actually is big enough it's actually just sliding on there, so it won't. The silver one, it didn't slide. This one, it's actually sliding over the size 15, so you don't have to worry as much about whether it's centered because they're going to move a little bit. And I'll just continue my seed beads all the way the rest of the way around. So each time I'm putting 3 on. So we're back to the beginning. Now, one thing I would say to you is take the time to go around a couple more times because you've got lots of thread here. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're anchoring everything in nice and tight, and that will keep that circle nice and tight so that it doesn't move. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to just ignore that and work on my tail end here to show you how to put that bead in. So I'm just going to thread another needle onto the tail end here. And what I have is I have a 4mm crystal bead. This is a Swarovski crystal, actually. It's a bicone shape. And I'm just going to thread it on, and I'm just going to loop through the other side of my ring. So pull it in, and then we need to come back through it, so on the back side. And I'm getting everything tangled up here. So we're basically encircling the ring. I'm going to bring it back to the front side to finish it. So back through that. And what you may want to do is run back and forth a couple of times so that it's good and secure. So that's my little decoration complete. So here's where I'm supposed to give you the little tease about the other one. So when we come back, I'll show you how to do this one. Okay, so here we are back, and I'm going to talk about this other sort of an evil eye looking one. We do have this set up as a PDF pattern that you can download, which will allow you to see how the beads sit. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the very center row. So to start off with, I've got about 1 meter of fire line, and I've added 2 beading needles onto it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the pattern and just ladder stitch my center row all the way across. So I want to keep that in the very center of my 2 needles. So what you're doing is you're creating a whole little row across. And you work all the way across your pattern. So I'm almost halfway here. I do have a swap out to show you how to do the brick stitch, just because I think it's easier to see when you have larger beads. So I'm swapping out to pony beads. And I didn't stitch the entire row across. I have a shorter row here just because I didn't want to waste your time here. but basically you stitch across your entire row. You've got one needle going up, one needle going down. And now we're going to work with the needle going up, and I'm going to add the next bead on of my pattern for the next row. So I've got a red one here because I've got a red bead here. And what I'm doing is I'm coming under the thread here, pull it up, and then I'm going to come back up through that bead. So it's similar to what we were doing when we were going around that ring. So one thing about brick stitch, this is not a mistake. You actually do on the first stitch end up with a little piece of thread sticking up. It's fine, don't worry about it. It just sits there. And then I'm going to stitch along. So I'm adding my next bead in my pattern, coming under that thread, and then back up through that bead. Grab a purple one here. We'll just do a little triangle up, just so you can see how this goes. And then to build the next row up, we're going to just come back the other way. Whoops. So back up through that bead, and yes, you end up with that little piece of thread showing. And you just keep building it until you get it, your entire pattern done. So I'm going to finish off with my small beads, and then we'll talk about how to add the bolo chain on and so on. Okay? Okay, so here I am at the end of my piece. I've taken my tail ends and just woven the extra thread back into my work. You don't actually have to tie when you're doing brick stitch or peyote. You just have to weave your tail ends back. And now I want to attach it into my bolo slide bracelet. So you can, if the loops work and they're the right thickness of wire, you can actually attach them directly, as I did with this one. You do want to be careful you're not forcing it, because you can break a bead. But what we're going to do, and I'm going to use jump rings on this one, is I'm just going to hook the jump ring through this last little ring. And I'll just take my pliers and close it up. And once I've got those on there, oh, I didn't do a very good job of closing that. Then we can attach it into these guys. So these actually do open up. You'll find that they have a opening on the side there. So you can just open them up and hook them in. And same thing with this side. I think this one's already open. Just hook it in and come in and close that ring up. So there's your bracelet complete. Hope you enjoyed this and have a good day.